board certified women's health nurse practitioner, also a credentialed sexual assault nurse examiner. I am a real estate broker in Kentucky and Indiana. My Indiana license is an escrow, but I can give you a referral for that. And I have practiced as a nurse practitioner for 11 years now. With that being said, most of my work has been focused on health equity, which is how I got into the digital health space. I have a digital health platform that helps connect patients with aligned providers.
You're the founder and CEO.
Founder and CEO. Yes,
when
I
did
am.
you found this company?
So,
because I know we're just like twiddling your thumbs with all the things that you're doing.
Truthfully, I decided more so to just go for it during COVID. The disparities then I felt were so much more apparent when it came to access and equity for patients, specifically in my specialty, which is women's health. OB-GYN is what I do.
Okay.
And so we were seeing a lot more IUFDs,
You're going to have to explain that. What's an IUFD?
So babies that were dying before, in the womb, shall we say. That's probably the easiest way that I can describe it. And that was very unfortunate. Issues with access, transportation, just lots of disparities and inequities. And a lot of times I would have patients that would come in and say they had such a great experience with me, and I can only see like 25, 30 patients a day, and realize that my network was so limited. So the ideal situation was for me to leverage technology in order to ensure patients were adequately cared for.
That's incredible. So this technology platform, it's an app. Tell us a little bit about what you actually founded.
Yes. So it started out as a directory because that was generally what was being requested. Could you refer me to a provider that specializes in transgender care? Or could you refer me to a provider that specialized in, that spoke a certain language? Or there are all sorts of ways that patients tend to want to align with their providers. And oftentimes when we do have this, patients have better experiences and outcomes when that alignment happens. So it is a website. We do have a website, EnVueHealth.com. And then we also, and that's spelled EnVue Health.com.
Oh, cool. Okay, EnVue.
Yes, EnVue. And then we have the mobile application. So it started out as just a directory of providers. And then.
And then you got to thinking.
The ideal situation was for them to truly be able to connect. Yes, I can provide the resource, but are they actually connecting with the provider? And that was the motivation behind actually becoming a credentialed telemedicine practice so that we can bridge the gaps in care.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. So EnVue is kind of right now, you're the CEO and founder.
Yes.
Are you using AI within this app?
I love that you asked that question. So as we work towards the technology build, we're working on collecting the data necessary to begin that sort of matching process. So it has not been implemented yet, but that is the direction we're headed in to ensure that the matchmaking happens just based upon what the patient may input as far as their needs or desires for their provider.
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking like a Match.com.
Exactly.
Only for the providers you need that are aligned with maybe your values, language.
Yes, all the things.
Oh, that's
you want a
incredible.
personalized experience, which is what a lot of AI focuses on is creating that personalized patient care. So, yeah.
Of course. And, a lot of what you are talking about with the data gathering, you're already ahead of the game. A lot of even the guests that we've interviewed, they're right there with kind of starting, hey, where is our data? What data do we want to collect? So the fact that you're already in that, data collection process is outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to our CTO and co-founder, Shermaya Holland, for that, because I am, again, a healthcare provider, but she holds down that tech side. So, yeah.
Okay, and then she is who to EnVue?
She's our chief technology officer. Probably grazed over that really fast. CTO and our co-founder.
Oh, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many, many, many AI innovations in the past few years, and I want to know your thoughts about just thinking long-term for the app. other AI integrations that you might be interested in, whether it's like chat bots or whatever it could
That was
be.
one of the things.
Yeah.
So yes, chat box for sure.
Mhm.
You want to be able to have a patient be able to ask a question and get an answer as quickly as possible. RPM, remote patient monitoring. So in
Mhm.
the event that they need, and in my specialty, I just got to bring it back to that. Say they have
Yeah.
gestational high blood pressure, or I was going to say gestational hypertension. I've got to get it right. So in
Mhm.
layman's terms, high blood pressure during pregnancy. There
Okay,
it
there we
is.
go. High blood pressure. Yes, which is really
I was
common.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So to have that ability to be able to monitor those types of instances, which would drive down the issues that we have with maternal morbidity and mortality.
Oh,
Mhm.
geez.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you're collecting data. Has there been a challenge either, for you or your CTO and co-founder in just getting that data either from the, patients or the providers? How do you go about collecting it?
So it's on the back end. I know
Okay,
that
okay.
much.
Okay. So it's on the back end of the app.
It's on the back end, and I don't access that area too often. I don't want to go in and, get into some things that I'm unfamiliar with and mess things up. But nevertheless, it is on the back end. So in the event a provider accesses our platform, decides to sign up, then they can input their information and their demographics, that sort of thing, or their specialties, et cetera, is collected on the back side. And then same thing with the patient. So whatever that they share with us is all, so it's not forward facing or anything, but we
That
just
makes
have,
sense.
like
Okay.
the age range, all that stuff.
How are you right now getting the word out about this? I mean, because this is amazing. And I mean, we're sitting here in Louisville. I'm sure that this could help not just here where the disparity is, but other cities as well.
Oh, for sure. So a lot of work. Let's just start there. We leverage social media.
Okay.
We need to leverage search engine optimization eventually.
Sure.
Also, email marketing. I do conferences. I speak.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At some engagements. Just a lot of community engagement as well. Sponsoring events. Yeah. So lots of connections, and then some of the health professional organizations.
Okay.
On connecting there. So if there are any health organizations that would like to connect with us, please do. We certainly want to consider partnering and collaborating. Health systems.
I mean, health systems, I feel like from a technology standpoint, um, where do you foresee, like, obviously we talked about the chat bots
Mhm.
and, you're collecting data right now, but how do you envision AI maybe changing EnVue, or like what would kind of be a wish list for you 5 years from now where you're using this technology to help bolster, the visibility of the app?
So the main thing I think that we're striving for is personalized care.
Okay.
I feel like just harping on the individualized experience. We want it to be an experience, not just a matter of equity, which it will create and help, not just a matter of access, but to ensure that it is a personalized experience.
That makes sense. And can you talk a little bit more about, you mentioned the equity a little bit before or the disparity,
Mhm.
the inequity. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you had to have been super motivated with, you are licensed in 2 states, real estate broker. You are a parent as well. You obviously have spent 11 years practicing medicine. So
Mhm.
it's not like you had, just time on your hands to do this. So I want to learn a little bit about, that motivation and passion that really came out of this for you to continue down this road with this app.
I'd have to say that it actually goes back further than COVID.
Okay.
If we want to be completely transparent from a personal experience,
Okay.
I got pregnant in undergrad and I moved here. I hadn't lived with my mother. Let me back up. Let me make sure I get this out
You're fine.
correctly. Yeah, so I moved here when I was 15, and my mother and I were in different states. We did not live in the same state for 15 years. So I didn't have anyone around that can necessarily guide me throughout my pregnancy. So I linked with a friend. We had a pregnancy pack because she got pregnant in undergrad too. Go figure.
Aw. Yeah. That's right. You
We
had
both graduated.
somebody.
We
Yeah.
both graduated though.
It went
Clearly.
on to kill it.
And went on.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she's a principal. Shout out to her
That's
at a middle
amazing.
school. I love her. And so I went to a clinic and I just felt like that provider, we didn't necessarily connect. And not necessarily saying that she did anything wrong, but I was navigating this alone, if that makes sense. And my sister was here. But it wasn't like I had the guidance that I would have wanted from a provider, which actually led me to become a women's health nurse practitioner because I wanted her job.
And
to
because
make
of
sure,
your experience,
yes,
to make sure it didn't happen
yes,
again.
Exactly.
That's usually how it starts,
Yeah.
right?
And then from there, continuing on a professional side, seeing time and time again people that came to me and shared similar experiences, like she didn't listen to me, or she didn't even see me, or she didn't even understand me, he or she, male providers as included in this. So just from a personal lived experience and then also professionally, it drove me to make this my life work. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, of course.
It's pretty cool that you started obviously with that experience and you practiced medicine for 11 years, real estate, now the app, like you are continuing the work in so many different arenas. So bravo to you.
Thank you.
And now that you are super, super busy on a regular basis,
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question that I usually ask many of our guests, which is if you could have AI take some tasks off of your hand on a daily basis, what would that be?
Administrative work.
Ooh, okay.
You can certainly use AI for administrative tasks, but I am not a fan. I do not like sending emails. I do not like making the calls. I do not. And as a founder, you have to be able to jump in anywhere
Oh, absolutely. Anytime, anywhere. Yes.
Yes. So, but if I could totally delegate all those tasks every single day, that would be so great.
Do you think that there's something that you'd never want to hand off? Like, I can think of a few things where I'm like, that's going to be a while before I give that, task or something.
I can't say that there is.
Okay, so you're like, give it all.
I'm personally at a place now where I have poured so much into it that I am happy to share.
Yeah, you're
So
like, it's
whomever.
fine. Yeah.
If they are driven and passionate and really I can connect and see that they light up about the work like I do, and they're smarter than me, experts in whatever they do, by all means, please.
But AI, you'd be so even if it's not a person, you'd be like, okay, like
going back to
ChatGPT
AI.
here, yeah. Is there something that you're like, absolutely not?
Not that I can think of offhand. I mean, if it were more hands-on, like when we were talking biopsies and stuff
Correct,
like
yeah.
that earlier, I don't know about that type of interaction. But considering it's all digital health,
It
and
could be
from
fully automated.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
I'm like, there's not a thing that I can think of, and I don't have a technical background. Let's pin that in there again.
No.
But that I can think of just off the top of my head that I would be like, that's scary. Absolutely not. So
you mentioned the biopsy. Going to moms, I was with my mom on a pancreatic cancer journey, and throughout, from the start to finish, technology in healthcare like rapidly evolves when they get research, everything. And so, over the course of 8 years, there were significant changes. You just mentioned the biopsy. Do you think there'll be like a time where that's all robotic? Like you don't even need a human to.
I certainly do. I mean, there are a lot of, especially in cancer and drug treatment, et cetera, AI is all in that space. So I can totally see it being more of that process. That's the route that we are going.
Yeah, like that is wild to me. Talk about too, going back to, you want your patients to be seen, right? I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, well, are we going to go into a room and it's just all going to be like non-human? Like what will that look like? What will the future of healthcare look like?
Yeah, so certainly don't want to take the human experience out. That is one thing that, going back to that, I would not want AI to completely take over in that space. You need that human experience when it comes to healthcare. I mean, my background in nursing, like we nurture. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're here for you from the time you take your first breath to the time that you take your last breath. That's generally we're here. So
Yeah.
never want to
It's like
remove
in your
that.
blood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so let's think about nursing and AI. AI could do things like diagnostics.
Mhm.
It could even, like we said, remote patient monitoring
Yeah.
to, say, alert a nurse on her rounds
Mm-hmm.
if there is, like, like an emergency that happens. You can learn about it quickly
Yeah.
with AI. What other integrations of AI within healthcare excite you?
Just streamlining care. Really and truly, like there are so many barriers in care that I feel like if technology were influenced were
Influenced and implemented. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You got the two
Integrated.
words I was trying
Yeah.
to, three
Yeah.
words I was trying to get in there. It was certainly streamline care, make care more efficient. You think about the emergency department. You think about all these places where you totally plug in.
Yeah. It could be way more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? So I know you mentioned like you would delegate tasks, but are you like I use ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
almost daily.
Do
And I
you?
mean, yes, because like I will get an email and then I'll copy and paste it into ChatGPT just to get some wording and then
Yeah.
I will build off of
It.
there
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes my brain is going too fast throughout the day and I really want to take the time, but I don't. And so instead of waiting 3 days to get back to this person, I'm trying to like get that ball rolling. Is there any type of AI that you're currently, using on a day-to-day basis, or are you still trying to integrate it into your personal life?
Still trying to integrate it into my personal life. I am not a everyday chat GTP girl. I must admit that. I wrote a lot of doggone paper.
No, that's good. That's good.
For me, it's still getting used to that. But I mean, it's such a wonderful tool. Well, you do use it.
Yep.
So working on getting used to integrating it daily. But I'm telling you, like my doctorate paper was like 80 something pages. So
You're just so used. You're so well, but I mean, Lecresha, that's so like half our audience. They're still scared of AI.
Yeah.
So not only are they not incorporating it in the business, like how you're collecting data, they're not even considering using it within their personal life. So what are your thoughts on, people being scared of it?
I think that you can't be afraid of change. Change is an ongoing thing. There are, as you mentioned, multiple ways that you can integrate it. So starting out with just maybe smaller tasks and building from there for comfortability. But ultimately, if you're not receptive to change, then there's no growth. So
yeah. Oh, I love that. I mean, change is necessary for growth.
Absolutely.
The trend of AI that we're seeing this year is a greater focus on, we've mentioned like ChatGPT, where you say like, hey, write me an email, and it kind of just gives you an email back pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
An emerging trend is focusing more on reasoning agents, where you can ask it a question and it'll reason through it like again and again and again. And then it might take like 30 seconds or like a minute, or even depending on how difficult the question, it could take longer than that even. Are there any kind of difficult questions that you would put to AI within your roles to say, hey, because it can like pull from all over the web. It can do deep research for you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you ask AI once it gets to that level for you?
I think what I would ask AI is how to get my company acquired so that I can plan for that. I feel like the goal ultimately is to eventually have an exit. We decided that, but having a clear path, because right now we are swimming and swimming and swimming and trial and error, as we know through business. Some failures.
Yeah. You just keep failing forward, girl.
But in the event that we could mitigate some of those risks and get to the point to where we have successfully built this multi-million-dollar company from the ground up within the next year or so, then that would be amazing. So
and then exit.
Exactly.
That's so, I mean, it's such a great point though, even with these tools, even with AI, even with the reasoning model, you don't take account, or the AI model can't take into account, the death of a family member,
Yeah.
a health emergency, your personal life, and all of these interferences, right, that could go into, or I guess, create a barrier
Mhm.
on your path to exit.
Most definitely.
What do you think has been the biggest barrier for you in developing this app? I know you just, I think, rebranded a little bit. I know that may have been a barrier, but what has been a big barrier that, hey, AI is not going to help with this?
For sure. So I think all founders will say capital. You
Oh,
got to have the capital
yeah.
to start the business. I'm not coming from a family that was going to give me a friends and family round or anything like
No.
that.
Here's
Not
$5
flexible.
for lunch. Have
Best
fun.
wishes. Good luck.
Yeah.
That for one. And then being a woman,
hmm
too. I think for us, we only get like 3% of
It's less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then being a Black woman on top of that, we get 0.3% of funding. And then I'm in Kentucky.
And I thought it was like 0.003.
Yeah. It's
Like
it's very low, less than 1% for sure. So I am proud of the progress that we've made. We probably have one of the highest raises for
2 Black women founders in Louisville.
yeah,
Kentucky.
exactly. So let's looking forward to that. And besides that, really positioning the business when we are on a B2B side, ensuring that we aren't positioned to where we're considered as competitors when we're trying to collaborate. A lot of the healthcare business, I know we know quite a few systems here in Kentucky, and it's just like pulling teeth sometimes when it's just like, we can come together to make a difference rather than everyone kind of working in their own silos. So
Collaboration isn't at the forefront.
exactly. And so just trying to really get across that we aren't the competitors. We're trying to bridge the gaps that exist and collaborate. So I think that's been another difficult thing when it comes to being in the healthcare space.
Incredible. Again, I don't have experience in healthcare,
That's
but
okay.
you mentioned everyone. Well, it may be more often than not that healthcare enterprises are working within their own silos,
Mm-hmm.
and you're here. You've built this tool. There's disparity in the amount of equity given to female founders, let alone the disparity of 2 Black women co-founding a
Mm-hmm.
healthcare company. Is there a lot of Black women in C-suite or enterprise roles at healthcare organizations that have reached out to you, or that you've reached out to? Like, what does that even look like? Is there any? Like,
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah.
I will say that there aren't many Black women in the C-suite when it comes to healthcare. Shout out to Corinza. I do know her well, but
Okay.
outside
So that's a
of
barrier.
yeah, so another barrier when it's time to trying to push our mission and then it not being received because it doesn't resonate with their reality.
Yeah.
You can present data and they'll have their own agendas and ways they think could be helpful, but ultimately being in the work, it's totally different than just sitting in the C-suite. And
Of course. Well, and I think, that's something that hopefully AI can help with. You go back to personalization. Okay, your frame of reference is different than the audience that you may be trying to target. So how can you use AI to personalize EnVue to these organizations? I mean, and that's not an easy task.
no, it's not.
Yeah, that's incredible. The work that you're doing is incredible.
Thank you.
You're paving the way for so many people.
I
So,
pray so. I'm like, God gave me the vision.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm just
It's one step at a time.
exactly. Taking it in strides.
Exactly.
Can we loop back to the data management
Mhm.
of getting EnVue ready for AI integrations?
Mhm.
What were some of the challenges there in terms of, because this is what a lot of business owners, when they want to integrate AI, what they don't realize off the bat is that it really just comes down to data.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you learn and in doing so, and what do you wish now that you knew going in?
I think going in, I wish that we would have started collecting data sooner
Okay.
rather than later. The more that you have, the better you can position yourself to integrate the
Yeah.
AI. I think that was the main thing that I learned. The more data,
Yes.
the better
The
your
better.
chances
So the
are.
sooner you start.
Exactly, as far as the learning goes with the machine learning and what have you. So,
What is your biggest, you mentioned, and a lot of our guests or our listeners are not, they wouldn't call themselves technically savvy. They have had to, learn AI and learn technology within, their business or their role. Is there anything that you just like, it's been years and you still just can't figure out when it comes to like technology? Like, for instance, I don't know if you've ever heard of Zapier. I like Zapier, but I swear like it's an integration for data where, you have your website, it connects with your email and it bridges these gaps. But when they break, I never know. And so it's like you're always constantly checking. And it's a piece of technology that I just can't, I don't know, I can't connect with. It drives me nuts. Is there pieces of technology or certain systems that, you just naturally have challenges with?
that's a great question.
And Zapier was just an example.
No,
Okay.
totally. I'm trying to think and I can't like pinpoint one out just right now off the top of my head, but technology is always eventful for me, just all around.
Yeah.
And
okay.
this is why I have.
And this is why
the
you're
people
not. Yeah.
influence.
Okay. So was that going back to then your CTO
Yeah.
is the technical person? How did that match come to be? Where you could lean and trust this partner with all things tech, because that's scary too.
That
for
is
a lot
very
of-
scary. I started out bootstrapping for one because
I feel that same.
so I bootstrapped for a while I was practicing, and I had a contractor out in Dallas
Okay.
for the first couple of years. And being that he literally just was in the contractor role, did everything according to what I expressed, even if it wasn't the best idea.
He just did it.
He just
Okay.
did it because he was getting paid for it. It was
Sure.
just like, hey, here you go. So one of my cousins, she actually introduced me to a friend. So introductions for me work the best if
It's so true.
if the person that is doing the introduction I trust,
Yeah.
then by all means I'll be open to it. So it was easier to eventually get to a point of trust with all things technology as we continue to build our relationship, since from the beginning
Yeah.
the source was a trustworthy source for me.
The best relationships, partnerships for me have always came from introductions. Truly, Connor, great example.
Yeah.
I would say half of our team has came from referrals from, in our team or clients. That's how Connor and I met originally, and he was an intern. So it's just, to me, like, your network truly can be your net worth.
Exactly. It truly matters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agree.
It's who you know versus what you know,
for sure.
as always.
It's true. Tale as old as time.
So we talked about delegation earlier, and just how much we'll be able to hand off to AI is just going to get increasingly, and just as far as tasks go, it's just going to be basically like you can just have AI use your computer for you for like virtually any task in the future. And so my question for you is, like, that's cool, it can do that, but what would you always want to, even if the AI is still doing work, what would you always within your company want to always have human oversight over, in terms of checking what the AI is doing, or whether it's its results or how it does it, what specific tasks?
I'm always concerned when it comes to data leaks and protection and that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
That is probably something that I would always want someone in place to ensure that those, because technology, things happen. So just
Yeah.
to make sure that that oversight is intact. But I think that would probably be my biggest concern, HIPAA compliance, that
Oh,
sort of,
geez.
yeah.
Yeah. HIPAA. I forget with healthcare again, red tape.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you have to be careful
Yes,
of.
exactly. Making sure, again, we had data leaks here, in the large system. So, yeah.
And it's
just being
patient information.
exactly. PHI, patient Yeah. So we certainly don't want any of that. So when it comes to AI, I doubt that the data would be problematic, but even
Mm-hmm.
still, you just don't know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes as technology continues to develop what can come about. So really just
Mm-hmm.
making sure that the people are protected and their information is protected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to loop back to the real estate side,
Mhm.
because in real estate, I know you're a broker. I'm going to say you're licensed in 2 states,
I
even
do.
though, yeah. Do you foresee like people being able to be matched with listings just natural? This is probably silly. I don't know much about real
That's
estate, but like,
okay.
hey, here's my information. This is what I want. Instead of having a realtor,
Mhm.
is it even possible to be able to be like, here are the top 10 listings in
But-
within 50 miles that you should be looking at?
For sure, Zillow kind of already has that sort of feature. I
Okay.
don't know, like they'll see what listings that you liked or that you looked at or whatever,
Oh.
and then they'll be like, oh, this one you may want to,
Explore.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
okay.
that sort of thing. But in regards to the actual process, and it is a process when you are purchasing or listing or selling, in layman's terms, selling your property or what have you. That's something that I don't think that AI can help navigate through all of those things just yet. There are a lot of things that can happen in
Yeah.
that process. So I highly recommend, if you are inexperienced, not to rely on AI,
For all
because
of
they're not
that.
going to be able to help you write a contract.
my
Probably.
gosh.
I don't know.
Not
but
now, at
not
least.
not at now at least. But when it comes to the search, it's already in play.
So in the very beginning, it's implemented, but you don't foresee AI taking over that process of like what a real estate broker does, because there's so many like holes and gaps.
So many different things so many different scenarios
Mhm.
that can take place. I have a property on the contract now. These patients, I mean, not
Yeah, you have to go back and I would be doing that every
these
day.
clients live in Nashville, so just relying on AI, could you imagine them purchasing here? That
Wow,
sort of
yeah.
that's a scenario that I have.
And some people, like, again, you can kind of look at cars, which is the second biggest purchase most people make after a home.
Mm-hmm.
That process is still very hands-on for a lot of people.
Exactly.
You have the Carvanas of the world where, yes, you can buy a vehicle, but
Mhm.
once that vehicle arrives,
That is yours.
well, it's yours, and like who's gonna fix the tires? Like
Mhm.
you still have to go, and so like to a dealer at some point. And so that's where, from a real estate side,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm always going to want the guidance or oversight of, somebody who knows the market, who has emotionally connected maybe to me and
Yeah.
understands my needs and wants more so
Exactly.
than just what shows up on paper.
For sure, because
So-
all the again, so many scenarios. People selling they had a new baby, or they need a bigger home, or they're getting a divorce, or all sorts of life events take place. And AI, again, it can be helpful, but like you said, that emotional, that human
The human
connection.
element.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's just something that I don't really want to change.
No.
Yeah.
And we need it as humans.
Yes. I mean, I feel like connection, again, going back to like your network, is so important. I feel like connections to me are so important, like in life, like just this life that we have. So if we're just all sitting around and, in our houses, and you have just technology, I mean, aren't everyone gonna get lonely?
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree. It's totally lonely. And they have all these virtual experiences now. But still, I mean, it's just.
the connection is
It's
different.
not, yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopeful, but not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting to look in the future of healthcare, of almost like telemedicine wise. Like, you put on your like headset,
Yeah.
and then the like nurse or doctor has on a headset,
Uh-huh.
and it's kind of like, all right, what do you see? And yeah, that'd be pretty wild.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, it's there's a lot that's happening in AI, and maybe I asked this earlier, but just is there anything that you've been seeing in just the AI realm within healthcare that you're really like, ooh, I hope I can get that integrated soon, or I hope that AI can do this?
Yeah. So in regards to our platform specifically, again,
Mm-hmm.
that matchmaking piece
Mm,
and the RPM, the
Yeah.
remote, sorry for the lay people, remote patient monitoring,
Mhm.
and that chatbot feature.
Mhm.
So those are the things that we're looking to do in the near future to enhance the experience. So, yeah.
You talked about the inequity and disparity among, even Spanish speaking patients that want a Spanish speaking provider, like being
Exactly.
able to have a chatbot that is talking to them in
Mhm.
Spanish,
Mhm.
like little things like
Little
that can
things.
personalize that experience and make them feel more comfortable.
Most definitely. And even people that have other health concerns like visually impaired or, or those who have hearing deficits. So just trying to ensure that the inclusivity is there. So those are things that we're looking at, but need to enhance the technology.
Yeah.
It's all about the technology.
It is.
AI and web accessibility is advancing in pretty exciting ways to where whatever your needs may be for a certain website, you'll be able to basically make a request on the website and it'll alter it, whether it's making the words bigger or, turning off autoplay so that, like, if you are like susceptible to having a seizure, you don't get any bright lights
Exactly.
or anything like that. There's just a lot happening in
much.
that
A lot coming
area.
down the
So
pipe.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, Lecresha, you are a serial entrepreneur. You're a rock star. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today with us. How, if people want to reach out, whether it's real estate, women's health, or EnVue, how do people get in touch with you?
Yes. Either the socials. I'm on
Socials?
pretty much. I'm not on TikTok.
And we can drop them in the comments.
Yes,
so
I was going to say LinkedIn. My
Okay.
full name, Lecresha Sewell. EnVue is also on LinkedIn as well as Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, Facebook. I'm not sure if we have a TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person.
We'll ask your CTO. We'll find it and we'll drop it in. That's okay.
Yes. And then email. My email is my first name, Lecresha at EnVueHealth.com.
Perfect. We will drop that in the show notes. Thank you again, Lecresha. We really appreciate you being a guest today.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
coming
having
on.
me.
Mhm.